Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about a subject that comes up a bunch of times as I do my videos, and we're going to talk about quantity versus quality. Which guy are you? Which type of person are you? Are you a quantity person or a quality person? And there's arguments on both sides of the table. So before we get started, I'm going to let you know that none of these weapons here are loaded and they have all been cleared. And as I pick them up, I will show you there's nothing in them. So what's the subject today? Quantity or quality? And this is an argument that's been going on for decades on when you get into these higher cost firearms. And I hear it all the time. You'll see a real expensive firearm, and you'll hear the guy that comes up that says, I could buy two of those for what I could pay for one of those, and they are usually correct. And I want to know which one's probably the wiser choice. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our trusty Glock, and we'll show you there's nothing in it. This is a Glock 21, but you can use pretty much any Glock when making these comparisons. I just happen to use the man's Glock, which is chambered in the Lord's caliber, nothing other than 45 ECP. So these Glocks, these things are just, they live up to their name. They're just so reliable. Probably the most reliable pistol on the earth, and this is the reason why striker fire pistols exist today. These polymer plastic pistols and these things, they always seem to go boom. When you pull the trigger, they always work. And the argument people always make is, I could buy 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever it is for what we could do with one of these extra ones. And this is completely true. Now, if you're a firearm person and you really like to have a different variety of firearms, and your hobby is firearms, and you like to have the neatest and greatest thing, or you really like quality made stuff, this is probably not the route you're going to go. So if you were to have 10 of these things sitting in your gun safe or wherever you choose to keep them, you really have about 10 things that look exactly the same. I mean, you can vary in different calibers or whatever, but pretty much they're all the same. They're all going to look the same. For the most part, they're all going to be the same color, unless you have them Cerakoted or something like that. They're just going to be a black classic made striker fired semi-automatic pistol, whether you choose to do 9mm, 10mm, 45. If you're smart, you'll choose a 45. But Glocks are Glocks, and this is what you get. And then you can move up a little bit in the price range thing, and you can get one of the new Colt Revolvers here. That's what I have here. And folks, you can choose anything. You could go the 1911 route or something, but usually with one of these things, you're going to be able to get at least, at the very minimum, 2 Glocks for what you'd pay for one of these things. And this one here has to be an Anaconda, one of the newer Anacondas, chambered in 44 Magnum. And people often will say this thing is worthless next to a Glock because it only holds 6 rounds. It's a lot more powerful, but you get a lot more ammunition, more capacity in a Glock, and it's just easier to load and all that kind of stuff. But for us true firearms people, these things are like works of art. I mean, it's hard to make the argument that a Glock pistol will look anywhere as cool as this, or function anywhere as smooth as this, or I'm going to go out on a limb and say this one's probably more reliable than a Glock, because this is a revolver, and it's really hard to get a revolver to fail. And it is possible, but more than likely your revolver is always going to work. But these things, I would say, at least on the price range, you're going to be able to get at least, at the very minimum, 2 Glocks for what you'd pay for this revolver. It's probably going to be a little bit more. You can sometimes, on the used market, get 3 Glocks for it. But we'll just use, for argument's sake, 2 Glocks for this Colt Anaconda. If you're a true firearms person and you like to have the quality stuff and the neatest and greatest thing, I mean, it's hard to make the argument that there's even a comparison between like a Colt Anaconda or any kind of high-end revolver like that as compared to a Glock. Just looks better made, really, really cool. It's a big old hefty, means business gun. And then you're going to move into the higher end spectrum of this, and what we have here is probably the most expensive one here on the table, and this is a Wilson Combat. So this one here is super expensive. and you can get cheaper stuff. But when you're really in the firearms and you want the pride of ownership and you want the highest quality stuff you can get, this is probably where you're going to be looking towards, just getting something like this with all the bells and whistles on it. Now, you're probably going to be able to buy 5 or 6 Glocks for what you would spend on something like this. And people make this argument is they both go boom, they both shoot the same thing. This is a 45, this Glock here is a 45, and this one holds less ammo than the Glock, so why would you choose this? Well, it's simple. It's the pride of ownership and the craftsmanship that goes into this thing. This thing is about as well built as any firearm could possibly be, and you are paying for what you get. Just the quality, when you look into the build on this thing, everything just seems to fit together perfectly. It just works so smooth. It's super accurate. If you're a professional shooter, you're going to definitely shoot better with something like this than you would over a Glock. That if you're the guy that just wants to throw a pistol in the trunk of your car or underneath the seat of your truck or something like this might be the route to go. But if you can find a way to have them all, I mean, that's really the best route to go. But not everybody's made of money and can sit there and buy all these really expensive firearms. But there's nothing wrong with buying something like this. It's just a really great option for people just getting into firearms or gets firearms just to use as a tool. This is probably the way to go because it's a lot more affordable. And let's say you were a married couple, you could get one for you and one for your wife, versus, if that's your budget, versus just getting one firearm for you. You could have one for each of you when you go to the range or for carry purposes or whatever you use your firearms for. This one's going to be a lot more costly to get 2 of these. So what people need to decide is, are you a quantity person or are you a quality person? And there's stair steps going from the bottom to the top here, and I would say this is the lowest one, this is probably the mid tier, and this is probably the highest end stuff you're going to get. We're talking about just pistols. Now, when you get in these price range, there's a variety of different stuff you can look at. You don't have to pick a revolver with the mid-level one. That just happens to be what I use as an example because of the cost of it. And you don't have to pick a 1911 for the top-end stuff. There's people that take these really high-end striker-fired pistols and have all the optics and lights and stuff and race guns and stuff like that. It costs just as much as something like this. But I just hear the argument all the time that I could buy 2 of those for what I could pay for one of those, so I think it's stupid to do it. It's not stupid, folks. People are in this different stuff, different categories of stuff, and nothing anybody does is stupid. It's you do what you want to do. You don't do what everybody else dictates that you should do. Always remember that, folks, when you're out picking something out. And there's nothing wrong with any of these firearms. They're all quality firearms. And let's be honest, no firearms today are cheap. They're all super expensive. It's just some of them cost way more than others. And you're getting what you pay for. If it's worth it to you, go ahead and do it. If you don't think that spending the extra money, your hard-earned money on stuff like this is worth it, and you would just rather have a couple of these, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's all in your personal taste. But let me know what y'all think about this. Are you a quantity person or are you a quality person? But anyway, folks, you have any questions on any of these firearms? I have videos on each one of them. Thank you very much for watching my video today. And if y'all live in an area that's about to be affected by that Hurricane Milton, please stay safe out there. We're going to probably take a direct hit from it here where I live. And we have been prepping for it for a couple days now. But anyway, folks, stay safe out there, and thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.